On this episode of Drinks Around the Table, I sit down with artist Allyson Lassiter. We talk shop about her early days of tracing cartoon characters, what the freelance artist life is like, and her co-creation of the Oni Press series Star Beasts. Hope you enjoy. This season's kickoff question has been, what was your first artistic love? Like, what was the type of art that drew you in first?
My first artistic love is probably comics and animation. I used to get the newspaper and I would trace I would just get tracing paper and trace over the comics, and I would trace over photos and stuff in the newspaper and make these weird cartoonized versions of the photos. So I feel like I kind of taught myself how to draw that way. I've been a dabbler forever, so if there was something I've been interested in, I just find out a way to do it. I used to pause I'd record stuff from the TV, pause it, and then tape up a big my dad worked at Hallmark when I was growing up, so he would work on the machines and stuff, and he brought me home this big roll of clear film once, because he knew I was into animation. He's like, it's kind of like, the animation cell. So I would just cut pieces of it and tape it up on the screen and Sharpie trace stuff and then paint it like an ink and color girl and make pictures for my friends like that. It was the stuff that the old photo albums where you peel off the plastic thing. That's what it was.
Okay.
But I used it for my pretend animation selves.
So what was your go-to? What'd you draw mostly? What'd you pause to draw mostly?
I mean, I always loved drawing Looney Tunes characters, and always loved Hanna-Barbera and Jay Ward, that's it. Jay Ward cartoons like Rocky and Bullwinkle and
okay, yeah.
So I would record a lot of those. I loved, when I got a little older, I was into Animaniacs and some of those earlier Cartoon Network shows like Dexter's Lab and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh man, so did you hold on to any of that? Or did you give it all away?
I bet my parents have it. I come from a family of people who aren't necessarily hoarders, but don't throw a lot of stuff away. Organized hoarder.
That's the key. That's the key.
This is a thing that this is a constant struggle in my own life.
So what? I mean, were there any other artists in the family?
I'd say both of my parents are creatives. Nobody overtly had, a creative job. My dad can make anything, so I felt like I grew up believing, anything there is to make, you can make. Because he's very good at wood shop sorts of and mechanical stuff. And my mom has always been in schools and preschools, and she was a school librarian, and very crafty.
Yeah.
So grew up with, a lot of what I did in my spare time growing up was making stuff. My sister's a secret writer. Nobody knows.
Wow.
But she's very good at writing, but she hasn't published anything and doesn't show anything to anyone. But
closet writer. Okay.
Closet writer. So yeah, they're creative people around me, but nobody that's earning their money doing that.
I gotcha. What was your first money making, where you did make money at? What was your first published and or sold situation?
Not necessarily selling, but I had a friend in high school who we had sort of a notebook that we called it the Character Wars, and we each made like a character, and then we would draw this comic and pass it back and forth between classes, and react to the last person what they did. We started building like other characters into it, and we kind of got a little following. We'd just like be at the locker, anybody could come and read it. We never made it like printed off copies of it or anything. It was just this one notebook we drew in.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of like the validation of like people reading something and laughing at it and enjoying it. Like,
right.
Kind of set me on the path to try to, make stories and put them out into the world.
That's amazing. Public consumption right there at the locker. Where did that go? Do you have that, or did that get lost to
I have it somewhere, but it is not it's not a pretty sight.
Well.
And it's very dumb, but good memories.
Yeah. Well, yeah, comes with the territory of the age. So yeah. I'm sure. Yeah, I have loads of short stories that I would never show anybody from that age, but they have their own unique charm to them.
Yeah.
All right, so then where is your first, because I mean you've worked professionally as an artist.
Yeah.
Where did that journey start?
I went to college in Milwaukee for animation and video. So my major was it's called time-based media. So that covers video, animation, and installation art, anything that's viewed over time. So I did learn how to do that traditional, like, hand-drawn animation, and really loved working with video and stuff. Right out of college, I started working at this online virtual world gaming site for kids, doing Flash animation and illustration for the website. So I'd make like, you had the avatar. It was around that like Club Penguin era. So sort of mini games within, and then you have like an avatar character. So I would make like different iterations of like clothing, or like they'd have their house, and so I'd make like, I drew everything on this isometric point of view, like from above looking down. I got really good at that like POV because I had to draw like things from every direction, little stuff to put in your house or plant in your garden on the website, and then just simple like Flash animation. So this website is gone because Flash doesn't exist out on the internet anymore.
Sure.
But it was kind of like it was called kidscom.com. It was kind of a little bit of a joke of a virtual world. I don't think that it was very popular. Yeah. And pretty much was the owner's kind of pet project that she funded with like her other businesses. But it was fun experience.
Sure.
Yeah.
Found some skills. You're still getting paid to art. That's pretty amazing.
That was my first job. Well, actually, before that, when I was in high school, I worked as a caricature artist at Worlds of Fun in Kansas City. And so this is what I tell anybody that wants to draw or do any sort of cartooning. I don't even think it has to be limited to cartooning. Anybody that's interested in going to art should get a job as a teenager drawing caricatures. Because it teaches you how to draw fast, take criticism. You're selling it, teaches you how to hustle because it's like based off of commission.
Right.
You're selling your art to people all day long and earning a living making drawings as a teenager. It's like, it's great.
I mean, did you ever have anybody criticize you after you did a piece for them?
Oh yeah, well when you start out you kind of suck.
Yeah.
And you're getting rejections occasionally, although surprisingly few people reject caricatures, even if you can tell they hate it.
Right.
And
that's what I'm blown away by. I'm just trying to picture the person that would tell a teenager, like, this sucks, I'm not paying you for this.
Well, come back to that, but you do get, so you start out bad, and then you get better very quickly because you're doing it all day every day, and then you get to a point where you're hoping for rejections, because that means you've reached a level of accuracy that can really sting someone.
Okay. I got you. So like
it's a badge of honor to get rejected. Like, you nailed that person a little too good in their insecurity.
Nice.
But I was always amazed at the amount of people that would come up without watching anybody draw and go to a particular artist to get drawn. We're not all like, we weren't all the same skill level or style. So to just approach somebody without knowing what they can do, I think it blew my mind how many people would do that. And they'd put like one kid in front of, this newbie, and then one kid in front of the guy who's like the manager, who's amazing, and have two completely different drawings and think, oh, they're both great.
Wow.
Like, there's a level of like judgment that some people just don't have in reference to art, I think.
Right.
But then you get some people who are like, that doesn't look anything like me.
Yeah,
and
super critical.
If it doesn't, or
Yeah.
Word to the wise, teenagers, get a job as a caricature artist. If you're at a place where a caricature artist is drawing, watch them first. See if you like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, don't you usually have samples out too? You could at least ask, like, is this yours? Is this... Yeah, I could see.
Well, yeah, I mean, at Worlds of Fun, a place like that, it's like they're putting samples up from everybody, and it's not like your station has your artwork next to it or anything. It's just like everywhere.
Gotcha.
If you're like one guy on like the sidewalk at a fair doing it, then obviously you can see that person's work. But this is like working for a company doing it.
So you as an artist got thick skin fast. Like, up from high school on, public consumption, just like taking in your work and letting you know what they think.
I may be self-critical, and I think that I know I'm very self-critical, so I think that I've given myself the tough skin. So I don't need anybody else to tell me that what I'm doing is shitty. I already know if it is.
All right, that's fair. All right, so what comes next? Like, what's the first thing you started doing where you decide, like, this is my passion, this is what I'm meant to do?
I don't know if I've landed on that. I'm too much of a dabbler, and my interest shifts, and I like to try new things.
Right. So
I can't imagine doing only one thing forever. And yeah, I don't know what's next for me, but I have gotten to a point where I've realized that the steady job paycheck is like a blessing to have if you want to explore in your creativity, which is what I am trying to get back to doing. But yeah. So,
yeah. I mean,
wherever the wind blows,
that's where you go. What other art types have you dabbled in?
Well, I got really into sewing like plushies, little characters, for a while. Quilting. I've always loved printmaking. I did a lot of printmaking when I was younger, and I'd pull out some like block printing and carving and stuff here and there. I like to make anything that I think could be interesting. I just like to try it.
Just dabble in.
Yeah.
All right, so we've had Stephanie Young on before. Where does that relationship begin?
Steph and I met each other when we both worked at Hallmark. She's still at Hallmark, and I left Hallmark in 2021. But we were working together on the Greetings Innovation team, where she was the editor and I was a designer, and that's when we first met. We were getting to know each other, just learning more about each other, realized we both loved comics, always wanted to make comics. I said, like, I've always wanted to make a comic or a graphic novel or a comic strip, but I have never successfully written a story. It's not my forte, the writing side.
Right.
Although I have attempted several times. And then she flip-flop. I've always wanted to make a comic. I've got stuff that I'd love to write, but I don't have the art side of it, although she does now. At the time, she was not drawing much, but so we were like, well, this seems like maybe we should get together and work on a project. So we started working on Star Beast. We came up with we just were like, what are some themes that we both are interested in? We both like space and animals, so kicked it off from there.
There it began. All right, so what she says that you developed the look of most of the Star Beast crew. Talk to me about that. How did that go down?
Well, we kind of hatched the idea together and sort of the general concept of the story together and what types of characters we were interested in doing, and then we knew that our main character was going to be a dog. So the first thing that I did was draw all sorts of dogs for, try to find the right breed of dog or what we wanted this character to look like. And I actually am not somebody that does a lot of sketching beforehand. I kind of put something down on the page. If I like it, I go with it.
Right.
But the most kind of exploration I did was with Bandit. And in the back of our book, we have let me find it. I put some of those little, I don't know if the screen can see this very well, but
yeah,
some of the little doodles of different ideas of what our main character Bandit could look like. Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of went for it, and then Steph came up with the more tight versions of the characters, give those back to me. I mean, I'm pretty heavily focused on characters in a story, is where my interest is. Steph is a really good plotter, so she's really good at the plot, and I love I was most interested in drawing the characters first.
Gotcha.
And then,
was there anybody any animal that you said, okay, this has to be one of the characters, it has to be this animal?
I think the only one is that I said I wanted a tiger because I like drawing tigers.
Nice.
And then I may have suggested the zebra. I don't know if I'm misremembering that, just because I think that he's one of my favorite characters.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah, and I may or may not have requested an iguana, but I don't remember. It's been so long since we worked on this a long time before it got picked up by Oni. So it's been, I think 2017 was when we started working on it. Yeah.
It's been a minute ago, yeah.
Yeah, because we were self-publishing at first, and then found our editor and got going on the graphic novel.
Right, which is a dope graphic novel. I haven't read it. I have it. I enjoy it. I like the. It's just light. I mean, there's a story, there's a solid story to follow, but it's still just a lighter read.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because a lot of the people that I have gotten the response of, like, people are crying on the second page. And I was like, we'll get past that part. Don't worry about that so much.
Right. Okay, I could see. I mean, I guess I didn't cry, but I could see. But yeah, I mean, the way it plays out. I don't want to spoil the ending, but well, so what comes next there with Star Beasts? Like, is there more, or is it you've done that and it's time to move on?
We both love this universe of Star Beasts, and I think that throughout, like, the writing of it, there was a lot of stuff that we had to cut out from Steph's original ideas to fit into the graphic novel format. There were a lot of characters, like there's this, it's called the Zorb Council, and they're sort of like the Jedi, the Jedi Council, and they get cut out a lot. So we made a little zine that highlights them, because they aren't actually shown in the book as much. But I do know Steph has written a short adventure that I will be working on as soon as I clear my plate and I'm able to. I think that we're just gonna forge ahead with that on the way we used to, self-publishing. Yeah. It's just like a mini kind of floppy 30 pages, I think, story that only takes like 3 of the characters from the book, and it's like a fun kind of Fast and Furious sort of vibes.
Nice.
But she sent me the manuscript. It's a lot of fun. And I know that she is working on a story for a sequel. But we don't know if that will go anywhere. We have another project that's kind of been in flux for a long time, not related to Star Beasts, which we may start working on a little quicker now soon.
Yeah.
So there's possibility of Star Beast sequel, but nothing solid yet.
Okay. How do you? Well, I mean, obviously you were friends beforehand, but how do you enjoy collaborating as a rule?
I do. I like to have. So I'm very like, if I was collaborating on the visuals, that might be a different story.
Yeah.
But collaborating with a writer, I love, because like I said, I've tried to tell stories, like I've tried to write stories and haven't gotten too far. I continue to try. I'm not giving up on that.
Well, that's
but
good.
it's nice to have a friend who can create a cool story and gives me an outlet to, tell the story visually.
Yeah.
But Steph is fun and easy to work with. We work really well together, and it's a little bit more of, this is the only graphic novel I've ever worked on, only like real comic book I've ever worked on. So, and I know that not everybody works this way, but it is a real back and forth between us.
Yeah.
It's less like I'm served the script, draw it, and more, I think this could use a little more room on the page. Can we nudge this like to the next page or whatever, So when we got together on both with the graphic novel and with our self-published issue, the first thing we would do is sit down together, and I would make like a super rough layout of all the panels, so that in the moment I could be like, this is not enough room to show what's happening here. Let's create some room here. Can we move some stuff around? So like, it was really nice to be able to go back and forth, and we're both flexible in that way.
Right. Well,
I mean, this was the first project for both of us, so
right.
We just found our own way to work. And I don't know how else other people do it. I've heard that some people never meet each other, and then there are some people that work very close together. So it takes all different types, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely know both angles, and I've worked more where, my lifelong friend and I, Daniel, he draws, I write, and he kind of taught me, because prose is my first love. So like all of my writing, he was instrumental in comic writing of telling me, you can't. This is what you can do in a panel. Like you can't do all of this that you're wanting to do. This is you can do a series of panels, but you can't do it all in one. And so learning to tweak what I knew about writing and making it fit, kind of like what you were talking about, where making it fit in a comic format. That was a learning experience. But I do know people that they write scripts, they find an artist that they dig, and then pay that person to draw what they want to draw. Like there's no real back and forth. It's just you draw this like I want it, and which I mean, seems to work in some cases, but I've definitely seen where that didn't work because I think you need the artist to weigh in and do that back and forth.
I mean, like I'm sure it is hard if you're not, and I think that Steph does think very visually. She wrote the script for this with a lot of description for each panel, but also left a lot of room for me to create stuff. But I prefer more description from her.
Okay.
I like to be confined a little bit, because I think that the joy I get from drawing is not coming up with what something looks like. It's more just putting down what something looks like. It's just like writing for a script, and it takes a while, I think, for a person to like shift from writing a novel to writing for comics. It's more like writing for like a screen, and so that's why I think the collaborative back and forth worked well for us, because she was new at it, I was new at it, and I'm like, there's a lot happening in this one panel. This is like a snapshot if you take a picture of the scene, so we might have to break this up, to like show everything that you want to see in here. But
No, I mean, I get it. I've done both now. I've written for another artist to draw, and now I've drawn my own comic. And that is, I do at times miss that back and forth, because I like what you said about having that confinement. It's kind of like when somebody asks me if I'll write them a story for an anthology, and that's it. They don't give me there's not a thematic element. It's like just whatever you want. That's the best way to not get anything from me, because it's too broad. I'm not going to. If you give me like, I need X, Y, and Z, I can knock that out faster, and I can get it off my plate and move on.
Yeah, I mean, I even always, like, I create parameters for myself. Even if I'm working on something on my own, I will say like, oh, I'm working on this series of drawings. I'm only going to use these 6 colors, or I'm only going to use this one theme or whatever. But I think that it's just more parameters makes you be a little more creative, I think, and maybe not like take the first. When I was working at Hallmark, and occasionally an art director would be like, oh, do whatever you want on this like design, I would be like, please just tell me what you want it to be, because that's not freeing to me. Right. I know it is for some like visual artists, that is like, oh sweet, I can do whatever I want, but I would prefer to like make something that is what is needed for the thing. Versus like make several iterations of the wrong hitting off the mark,
No.
But I also think that's the difference between an illustrator and a fine artist. I consider myself much more on the illustrator side, where I'm conveying an idea visually versus being representative and expressing whatever in the artwork. I'm more like, I want to lay down what you want to say here.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. All right, so then you leave Hallmark. Clearly, you and Stephanie are still collaborating and still. But what's freelance life like?
So I left Hallmark to freelance. I left on my 10-year anniversary at Hallmark, which was also the same month that Star Beast came out. And I left with a little bit of, I had been wanting to try to freelance for a while, but I felt like I needed a safety net. So I had saved a little money, and an opportunity came up where I could work at my local coffee shop where I was a regular. Somebody had left, they needed a barista. I'd never worked in coffee, didn't even drink coffee that much. I was a tea drinker, but I was thinking, I want to change things up. I want to learn how to make coffee, which was super fun, and it's like a lot of fun to just have a very simple job like that, where it's like transaction done, as coming from, I at the time I left Hallmark, I was working in gift design, which is a very long process where you'd be working over a period of months on a product, with back and forth between manufacturer and lots of stuff, and it was just very cumbersome. Like, I didn't like it anymore. Right. There was not a lot of designing. It was more making instructions. So, like, I needed a break. So I got this coffee shop job, and I'm like, and then I'm going to try to, just get all sorts of different projects, freelance projects here and there. And it was fun for a little bit, but most of being a freelance artist is running a business, which is not fun to me.
Sure.
And I'm not good at it.
Well, it's not super conducive to making more art either.
No, you're spending the majority of your time running a business and very little time making art.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where I was working all day long because I was worried about what was coming next. And I'm single, I own my house, I have bills to pay, and I have nobody else contributing. So I needed to that fear of not being able to make ends meet just caused me to not do anything creatively for fun anymore and only trying to do stuff for money, which I realized I needed something that I needed more structure, and I needed a steady paycheck. So I went back to one, and now I'm trying to get back into my old groove of making stuff for fun, and I'm on the way. I'm in midst of transformation.
In midst of, all right. Well, that's an exciting place to be. It can be.
Yeah. I've got I started a new full-time job. I'm 3 weeks into it, and I'm clearing my plate of all of the freelance work I had remaining.
Right.
So I'm still working all day long, but once I get those finished, I'm just working on the margins on the freelance stuff. I'm trying to not take on more stuff so that if a Star Beast sequel comes along, I have the capacity for it.
Yeah, you're ready.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, well, we're running out of time. Where can everybody find you? Where's the best place to find particularly when you start having gathered your rosebuds, moved forward? Where's the best place to find you?
Best place is on Instagram. It's at Allyson Lassiter. I'm sure you'll probably put a link.
Yep,
maybe.
I'll have it all down below.
And so I won't spell it out. And then I have a website, Lassie's Fantastic Universe. It has currently a portfolio on it. I'd like to do more on my website. Put up a shop, put up a blog. So those are the two spots that I would direct people to. Those are where I'll update if anything happens.
Right, when the news hits. Well, very cool. Well, thanks for sitting down with me.
Yeah.
And thanks for having a drink with me.
Thanks for having a drink with me. Cheers.
Till next time.
Yeah.